Ladies and gents, welcome back. Sensationalism is the name of the game when it comes to mainstream media journalism these days. The mainstream media has been seeing their industry circling the proverbial toilet bowl as it is going down the crapper. And that's largely due to, well, independent media coming on the scene and people seeing so much how the news media has been lying to them. And now with government subsidies keeping the media afloat, it's become more and more transparent what line they're towing. Here's an article from CBC. It's a slippery slope, how young men fall into online radicalization. Now, slippery slope arguments are never accepted when they come from right of center. Slippery slope arguments about finances, about social issues, definitely not acceptable. But here we are with a slippery slope argument. Reed Brown says YouTube started showing him problematic content when he was 13. Pearls clutched. Reed Brown remembers the first time he got sucked in by the algorithm. He was just 13 watching videos after school when YouTube started pushing him to controversial content. As time went on, the videos became increasingly extreme, says Brown, now 21. Started out pretty benign. He recalls, you're watching something about teen fashion, and the next thing you know, the algorithm will push you to a Ben Shapiro video. My goodness, not a lawyer from the United States who happens to be a conservative. Although Shapiro describes himself as a conservative political commentator, his views are controversial, says the writer of this article. And some are outright discriminatory, says the writer of this article. Of course, not getting into any of those details. He suggests, for example, the transgender people suffer from mental... Okay, that is a detail, but that is a contentious issue because the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, which is used for psychiatric care, describes it as that. So I think he's just using the proper terminology for this. But he has combined 9.4 million subscribers and followers on YouTube and Twitter, many of whom are young people, like Brown was when he got pushed in Shapiro's direction. Now, I'll leave a link to in the description to this article. You can go through it, but I don't want to get too much into Ben Shapiro. This is about sensationalism in our media here in Canada. I had this article that I read recently. I covered this story. This was a dust-up with a reporter. Pierre Poilievre takes a page from the Trump playbook, this writer says. Now, I covered this story, and this was a confrontation between... David Atkin, a journalist for Global News, started shouting down Pierre Poilievre when he came out to make a statement. This is completely out of the norm, and it's not a thing that normally honestly does not normally happen. So Pierre Poilievre says, "Oh, we got a liberal heckler here," making a joke. This reporter goes on to say that this is something right out of the Trump playbook, not that Atkin was out of line at all in this case. Now, down in the article, it says Poilievre supporters are trying to paint Atkin as being like Acosta. Jim Acosta, famously in the United States as being that reporter. The reporter that shouts at Donald Trump when he was in his meetings and giving statements, not waiting his turn for asking questions. I heard a Poilievre supporter on YouTube accusing Atkin of shouting like an American reporter. Who is that? Who is that? Maybe that's referring to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that big of a YouTube channel, but this I definitely made that comparison. I don't know if anyone else did, but the article says it would be funny if it weren't so dangerous. Now, the article doesn't go into any detail about what is dangerous about comparing a sensationalist journalist from the United States to a journalist's behavior here in Canada. I don't understand what is so dangerous about this situation. I hope to see a follow-up article where they do point that out. Now, in recent times, Global News' Rachel Gilmore has become very famous for her sensational headlines to the point of becoming a meme. Now, let's look at some of her headlines in the recent times. She was the one who wrote Diagon, what to know about the group whose founder shook Pierre Poilievre's hand. Now, this is obviously just smear Poilievre through guilt by association. Conservative leadership frontrunner Pierre Poilievre, now leader, came under fire this past weekend after an image of him shaking hands with Jeremy Mackenzie, the founder of the group known as Diagon, emerged. Now, Diagon, Jeremy Mackenzie, for one, is an online entertainer. He's a veteran, a Canadian veteran, and online entertainer. He came up with a fictional story, a joke story about a fictional country that spans from Alaska to Florida, leaving out the coastlines. Called it Diagon. Its president is a goat statue with a cocaine addiction. This is a joke, clearly, but sensationalist journalists want to run this as a real thing. Anyway, guilt by association is the name of the game in this article here. Drumming it up as if other people are drawing attention to it, but this is the draw. This is the draw to this attention. Another article here, which has a lawsuit impending. This is good PR why anti-hate experts are urging politicians to step up their vetting practices by Rachel Gilmore. Now, this is in response to Pierre Poilievre meeting with James Topp. If you don't know who James Topp is, he is a veteran in Canada. This seems to be a trend here, slandering veterans. But James Topp is a veteran who marched all the way from Vancouver to Ottawa to speak with politicians about what's going on in his cause against the vaccine mandate program that's going on in Canada that's very discriminatory. So he had a legitimate protest, and Pierre Poilievre went to meet with him. Of course, where is the slander in this article? Well, the slander comes right here in this is the archived URL, and here you'll see James Topp, white supremacist, far right. Now, James Topp is suing Global News over this. Hero veteran James Topp sues legacy media journalists for slander. This is from the Counter Signal. Canadian hero and veteran James Topp has sent Global News a libel notice for calling him white supremacist in an article published in August. The hero James Topp sues the legacy media. The notice mentions journalist Rachel Gilmore, Globalist News, and Chorus Entertainment Inc. as defendants. The defamatory article, inclusive of the URL tag, referred to James Topp as a white supremacist, among other things, wrote lawyer David Elmaleh. I probably butchered that name, sorry. It was published without providing evidence or any supporting evidence to their statements. Topp marched across Canada, beginning in Vancouver, which I just informed you of. Now, Rachel Gilmore has turned herself completely into a meme, and the internet is doing what the internet does best, and they're making fake articles with her name on them. And this is pretty funny. There's a bunch of them all over the place, and some people are falling for it as if it's real because it's very difficult to understand anymore what the difference between satire and the actual mainstream media is. Trudeau says if you want to have Thanksgiving and Christmas this year, get boosted. Protection. And with the headline, if Canadians are good, Trudeau will give give you Christmas for Christmas this year. Obviously parody this image, but here's another one. Gardening, canning, and other signs of far-right extremism to watch out for by Rachel Gilmore. And again, another fake headline. My Ukrainian grandmother must have been far-right wing extremist. Who knew? With the immediate follow-up, to be clear, this is a joke. Come on, get with it, people. But Rachel Gilmore not taking so kindly to this meme that's going around because it damages the credibility to her career, honestly. But the damage has already been done from her own work, it would seem. But the memes are kind of a retaliatory thing that the internet has drummed up. Some people have decided it's funny. It's a funny hobby to Photoshop news articles and see who takes the bait. This is fake news. I never wrote it. If it's a screenshot, not a link, and the text looks off, consider Googling it before getting outraged. This is what I always do if I see, and this happens on Twitter quite a lot. People will post an image of a article. If there's no link to the article, don't buy it. Straight up. It's just straight up, don't buy it because it's probably fake. But this is a thing. This is a thing. And of course, if you want to find an article that has been screenshotted like that, Google it immediately. It'll come up. Now, Trudeau's approval rating spikes, reaches record 74% following Pierre Poilievre's reign for CPC by Rachel Gilmore. That was the one that she was upset about in that tweet just before. Now, somebody, Tom Quiglin, replying to her tweet saying the problem here is that Rachel Gilmore's reporting is consistently biased, inaccurate. That it is hard to tell the difference between her real work and the satires aimed at her. Absolutely. It's difficult. Now, Keith Wilson was on Viva Frei yesterday, and he gave his 2 cents, and I thought this was just so poignant for this video, what he had to say about the mainstream media. And he was referring to his case, the mootness hearing for his case, which he is representing. He is representing Brian Peckford in his case against the federal government on restrictions of travel. And this is what he had to say.
I've spent like 2 hours with a reporter on an interview, and I know they wrote a story, and it got to the editorial desk. It's like, nope, that will piss off our paymaster. We're not doing that story. The media is so extremely controlled right now by their desperation for money, and they're in a death spiral because, you know, more and more people are tuning out and not paying for it because they see it's propaganda. So they become more desperate for the money, the only money they're getting. We know Global News said they're on their, bent knee to the government here last week and said they're in their last gasps of financial health, of life. And so they don't dare say anything negative about the government. We're in this is dangerous stuff.
Well, luckily,
that's it. That's absolutely true. And here's the point here. So Global News, meet our journalists David Atkin and Rachel Gilmore. Also Global News. Headline here, Global News on the brink. Global News is on the brink. An executive of the country's number 3 television networks yesterday told the Senate hearing the assessment came despite millions in federal subsidies and 38% profit margin in TV. We can no longer do this alone. This content is for BlackRock reporter members only. Please log in. Anyway, somebody took a screen cap of that. But that is the case. The media is now beholden to the government in Canada, the mainstream media anyway. Most of people's money and actual attention is going into independent media sources. Folks like myself reporting on things, but many bigger people, Viva Frei, all kinds of people reporting on the news. People just don't want to be propagandized anymore, and they know that the government is paying for the news. Whether it's CBC or the actual independent, they call themselves independents, but privately owned companies are subsidized by the government. So their interest isn't in telling you the news. The interest is in telling you what the government wants you to hear. Anyway, I'll leave you at that one. Let me leave a comment in the comment section down below what you think on this situation. This video is going way too long, so I'm going to cut it shorter. We'll see you tonight in the live stream, 6:30 Pacific time. Be there. We'll see you then. Keep on trekking.